Today, Rishi and I are going to run you through how to surface data-driven insights from the G Suite admin platform and also tying in with BigQuery. So we're going to see if we can, we thought we were sorted, if we can get the slides up. Let me first give you some background on why this is important, right? So you saw today at the keynote, a lot of the speakers talking about moving to the cloud and how there's so much more data now that's in the cloud. And it's great that there's data in the cloud, but it's only really useful if you can get insights from it and if it is actionable. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And specifically, we're going to zoom in on security. We're going to talk about some other elements, but I think security is a key piece. Because if you really think about it, that's very much what is on CIOs' minds these days. And so one of the things that having detailed reporting does is it allows you to move from a sort of standardized security posture to one that's tailored for your organization. So if you think about a standard set of policies that you might have, that might be either too permissive or too restrictive for your organization. Or it might be both at the same time for different groups of your organization. By having detailed reporting and insights, you can determine where you need to tighten the controls and where you're okay. And so we're going to run you through that. And the way that we do that is through reporting, and it allows you to do a number of things. It allows you to assess where your risk points are, and we're going to show that in a few different elements. It also, very much importantly, allows you to make timely interventions. So when you detect there's a problem, you need to be able to act on that. You need to be able to do something specific. You can set security controls. You can also set up DLP, which allows you to control your sharing policy based on content and based on teams and things like we're going to talk about that. And audit allows you to understand ongoing incidents and respond to them really, really quickly. And finally, we look outside security. The other piece from reporting is to really understand how organizations are adopting the G Suite, right? You saw in the keynote, everyone's talking about, how the G Suite transforms your organization. Well, it only really transforms your organization if you use it. And what we found at a lot of customers is that you'll have certain pockets where they're really using a lot of collaboration, and some other pockets where they're not. And a lot of times that indicates that maybe some training or some learnings need to flow from one area to the other so that your whole organization is really taking advantage of all the benefits of going cloud native with the G Suite. And so there are three main elements to our reporting platform. We've got comprehensive data. What I mean by that is you want to go deep and wide across the G Suite products there. We've got all the logos, or many of the logos of the G Suite. We continue to add more. And you go wide by covering all the reports and then having a lot of detailed reports. We've got 55 usage reports on the admin console, 9 audit streams, and 18 alerts. And all of this is really, really increasing. And so that provides, your baseline, your key pieces there. And then we want to have an extensible platform. APIs that allow us to push the data out to where you need it, okay? So partners can integrate with the APIs to provide customized solutions. And we can also send the data over to BigQuery and run some really, really interesting analysis. And we're going to show that today. And then finally, all of that, you're doing all of that not just so that there's data. You're doing it so that you can get insights and that you can act on those insights. And we're going to show you how the reporting system ties into that. You can develop insights, you can surface them, and then you can, most crucially, as I said, act on them. So there are 3 particular types of reports that the reporting platform provides. We've got domain and usage reports. Got over 100 metrics in the reporting API in this area. We've also got audit. And what that's about is getting near real-time updates on user activity and across all the core G Suite apps that I talked about. The final piece is alerts. Admins can choose from 20 predefined alerts, to create custom alerts. They also create custom alerts from the audit stream. And then developers can push alerts in through the reporting API. Rishi's going to give us an overview of how reporting is set up in the admin console.
Great. Thanks, Alan. So, good evening, everyone. So I'm going to talk briefly about all our reporting capabilities that we have today on admin console. The first important thing that I want to talk about is on the domain level. Right? So admins have this requirement to see at a domain level what are the top things that are going on. So our domain level reports are split in two categories. The first section being the highlights section. We realize that admins are very busy people and they need a quick snapshot of what's happening inside the company. So the highlights page provides a 360-degree view of all the important things that are happening inside the domain, right from what's the 7-day active usage, what's the file sharing status inside the company, are there any users who have suspended, are there any users who are blocked, are there any users who are nearing the quota, and that's a clue for an admin to go and purchase more quota. So these are like really important inputs that an admin can get a quick glance of. But that's only good for getting a quick snapshot. What if an admin wants to get a more deep dive information into each of these different applications? So for that, we have aggregate reports. Aggregate reports provide, at a domain level, data on each of the services. So for example, if you want to know how many files exist inside your company, how many files are shared outside the domain, how many encrypted emails exist in your company. In a world where mobile device management is becoming very important, admins would like to know how many managed devices exist inside your company, broken down by iOS, Android, and so on. So aggregate reports provides that level of information where admins can go deep dive into each of the services, each of the device management attributes, and even export this information into a Google spreadsheet or a CSV and do further drill downs. The next category that I want to talk about is, we have spoken about domain level reports, but what if admin wants to drill down at a user level? For example, if you as an admin want to roll out two-step verification inside your company, which is a very powerful way to secure your account, at that stage, you want to know which users are enrolled in two-step verification, which users are not enrolled, and for those who are not enrolled, you need to inform them. And that's where the user level reports become very important. They provide you granular data at each user level. And we provide 3 different views around user level data. So you could have a security view where you can slice and dice by all the security related metrics. For example, you want to know how many external applications have my users installed, given that there's a lot of sensitivity around external third-party data. So that's a very important attribute. The second one could be how many users have enrolled in two-step verification. The third one could be, are they installing less secure applications or not? Are they using security keys? Are they sharing files outside the domain? So that's the security view. You could also have a pure collaboration and adoption view of user-level reports just to discover how many users are actively creating docs, how many users are sharing these files, because a company has gone Google for not just for cost savings, but also to bring about a change in the culture of in the collaborative culture. And that report helps you discover what are the collaboration trends happening inside my company. Are there specific users who are not using docs as much as other users? And that's a clue for an admin to basically go and conduct maybe some trainings for these users. So that's what makes user-level reports very, very important. And I want to highlight that these are these reports offer a lot of flexibility. You can download these reports in a Google spreadsheet or a CSV. You can do advanced filtering. You can do sorting on top of this data. So there's a lot of flexibility that is offered. The next one that I want to really highlight is audit. All the reports are great, but what if I want to know what's happening right now inside my company? What if I want to get a real-time update into what files are being shared outside my company? What if I want to know what third-party apps are getting installed inside my company? That's where audit comes in. Audit is the backbone of all security and investigation work. And we have 9 audit streams that are available on Admin Console, which cover all the major core G Suite applications, Gmail, Drive, calendar, groups. And you get a real-time feed into every single activity. Now imagine the scale of this feature. Every single event that a user is doing inside a company, right from viewing a file, to sharing a file, to downloading a file, is all captured. To give you some stats, we process almost 1 billion events a day just on Drive Audit. That's the scale that we're operating at. And these events are used by our admins to troubleshoot when a security incident has happened. These events are used by partners to build very advanced tools on top of it. So it's really a backbone of all the security-related investigation work that happens. I also want to highlight we also have a device audit. So you can now see every time a device gets rooted, every time there's a OS update on your device, so you can get a real-time feed on that as well. The next vertical here is alerting. We realize that admins are very busy people. They cannot come to reports and keep checking what's happening. That's where alerts come in. We have offered a set and forget experience where admins can simply come, choose from one of the 18 predefined alerts. For example, suspicious login. Just go and turn on suspicious login on your manage alert section, and you will know whenever we detect any suspicious activity, and we apply a wide range of intelligence signals to detect whether there's a suspected hijacker who has come into your domain. So we use that information. You could set alert on, say, a change of drive settings. That's very important, especially if you have delegated super admin responsibilities to other delegated admins, and you want to keep a tab on what the other delegated admins are doing. So predefined alerts are a great way to be aware of what's happening inside your company and make timely intervention. Avoid any security breaches to happen. And if you have a very custom requirement where you want to track a very specific event or a specific file, that is also possible. So you can go to Drive Audit or any of the other audit streams, select, do the filtering on the left side, and then set an alert on top of it. That's where your custom alerts come in. I also want to talk a little bit about the reports API. Now, all of this stuff that we just spoke about is great on the admin console. You can come, run your reports, you can do audit, you can do alerts, but what if I have a very specific use case that my company needs to achieve? What if my CIO has come to me and said, create a collaboration dashboard for our company? What if my CIO has come and told me that, okay, create a security dashboard for my company? This is where it's very important for us to give all of this data to you, which you can use and derive programmatically and build whatever you want to build for your company. Or have this API given to partners. And we have a lot of talented partners on our Google Apps Marketplace who have done great things with the reporting and audit API and build advanced use cases to meet our large customers. So the reporting API is a very powerful mechanism to get over 100 metrics. Through push notification, you can create workflows built on this particular API. We have about 20+ partner integrations, and I'll briefly talk about one such integration, which is Better Cloud. So they have done a good job of using the reporting API to build a two-step verification reporting interface. They also have an Apps Explorer interface where you can discover third-party apps or track quota users. So this is just one example. There are a lot of other partners on Google Apps Marketplace who have integrated this API, and it's helping them meet sophisticated use cases like DLP, custom workflows, and so on. With this, I'll hand it back to Alan.
Thank you, Rishi. So there's an overview of admin reporting, but let's try to put this into context with some specific examples. And so, as admins, we hear sort of two general classes of requests from CIOs, CEOs, Chief Security Officers. It's basically you've got how do I secure my users, my domain, my company. So you've got security and risk management. And then how do I ensure that my users are as productive as possible, that I'm actually transforming my culture by moving to the cloud. And that's where we come into usage and adoption reporting. And to do this, we can use our audit logs. Now, the audit logs provide near real-time access to events that are occurring. So we can use those to detect what's going on, and then we can set appropriate policies and rules to protect the data in the domain. Now, admins can slice and dice audit data in a number of different ways, and we're going to go over that now. And so things like we've got here how to track external file sharing. So this is something that we've seen that's come up an awful lot as companies have moved to the cloud more and increasingly put more and more sensitive data into Drive. One of the first things that, first kind of questions that we got was, well, how do I know that my data is safe? How do I know what's going on? Maybe someone could just be sharing it everywhere. Before they had that sense of control when they had it on premise. And when they move it to the cloud, you lose that sense of control, and you want to understand what's going on with your data. And that's where this comes in. So Rishi is going to show us just a quick demo on how you can detect this and what kind of actions you should take. Thank you, Rishi.
Thanks, Alan. So as Alan just mentioned, security around drive files is really, really critical, and we have built some really advanced tools that I would like to showcase today and see how admins can protect their data using these tools. So let's say I'm a user, and my manager shared this sales forecast document with me and said, hey, do some additional enhancements to this file. And I want to work on this from home, and my company has restricted access from home. So what I'll do is I share this file. And I say anyone with a link so that I can go back home and do this, can edit, and I do save. So I haven't put my ACL also, so I'm being very smart here. So my name doesn't show up in the sharing list. And then let's see what the admin sees. Now I'm the admin. I'm going to the reporting section. And I will check drive audit. So there you go. I just have got an alert over here saying a confidential sales plan has been shared. And when I go to my email, I've also got an email saying this user has changed the link sharing visibility from private to anyone with a link. Now, this is a red alert for me as an admin. I have a user who has shared something confidential to anyone with a link, and this can lead to large-scale security breaches because anyone who has a link is almost like a password. So anyone who has a link can go into the file. So I go back to my admin console. I click on this file. And first and foremost, I can go back and change this option so that this file is secure. Now, I've done this, but this is a reactive step. I can't do this for every single file. So what is the solution as an admin that I can get my mental peace and set policies and controls so that my users don't do these accidental mistakes, right? Like they don't put the security of the domain at risk. So I would like to show you that we can now create rules. So I go to the admin console, and this is our brand new Drive DLP feature that we have recently announced. And as an admin, I have a list of predefined templates, Drive data loss prevention templates that I can choose from, or I can create from a blank template. So I select one of them. I can rename. And I can do a host of other things here. While I'm creating this rule, I can either assign it to an organizational unit, or even better, I can use Google Groups. I can assign it to a bunch of users inside Google Groups. And I know we have heard this request from a lot of customers that they would like to see more and more policies and settings being assigned to a Google Group. So this is one such example where we have done that. And on the content side, with the predefined template, I get 3 templates. But I can customize this and add more out of one, and pick 1 out of 50 such predefined templates. Say I choose credit card number. And the third field here is very interesting. Drive DLP does flagging of files. And if I want to be very, very precise and avoid any false positives, I will choose a very high confidence threshold, which not only looks at, in case of credit card number, not only looks at the credit card number, but it also looks at some keywords around the number, say expiry or name. And it does that kind of a matching. So I do that, and I'm done with this. And then within the actions, I can not only notify, which I was able to do with my custom alerts, but I can actually block external access, which is a very powerful way to secure your data based on content scanning. So I've done this. I've created and activated this rule. And let's see what happens on the user side. So now I have another doc, and I'm Rio, and I've been asked to work on some of the sensitive team data, and I try to do the same thing. And I'm trying to share it with, say, a consumer ID. And there you go. I get an error saying this item contains credit card number and you cannot share. Right? So this is a great example of how admins can protect sensitive data stored inside Drive files and also audit it whenever such situations happen. So I just want to highlight another thing here, that as an admin, you can go back to your DLP interface and check rules audit. So you will get a list of all the files that are matching your DLP rules and run detailed drill downs on top of this. With this, I will go back to our presentation, to the next topic.
Thank you, Rishi. So it shows you a really powerful way to detect and then control third sharing of Drive files. And it's really powerful but quick, and that's the key. That was the design principle that we had when we thought about DLP. We wanted to make it not cumbersome, really automatic, give users a good experience, and give admins a good experience. That's the idea with all of our security features. And so every time, as the cloud continues to get more and more powerful, and you add new capabilities, you also have to secure it in new ways. And third-party data access is a great example. So third-party apps are really powerful. You can integrate with the G Suite using our APIs, and you can extend the capabilities of the G Suite and integrate G Suite data with your wider workflows. So that's a great capability. But on the other hand, we've also got to ensure that we're adequately monitoring and controlling that. And that's where access to third parties and logging and controls around that come into play. And so Rishi's going to run us through a demo of how you would do that, how you would first detect the behavior you're seeing in third-party applications. This is what you expect your users to be doing. Are they doing this responsibly or not? And then how you can control that. Yep. So for Rishi, if you can go to the demo, please.
Sure. Thanks, Alan. So I'll quickly show how, as an admin, I can track all the third-party apps that are currently being used inside my company. So I'm back to the admin console. And I go to my reporting section. And I go to the user security report, which I just spoke about. And this report has a column called external applications. So I choose that, and I say greater than 0, just to scan all the users who have installed applications. So there you go. It has very quickly told me these are the users inside your company who are using external applications. So I click on one of them, our favorite Rio, and we'll go back to his security section inside Rio's page, and there you go. So I see he has installed a particular third-party application. I see this app, and I say, okay, this is not in my approved list, so I say revoke. And I say revoke. Now, again, this is an example where I have taken a reactive step. My user has gone and installed it, and I have gone and revoked it. This is not scalable. We want to give admins control where they can set policies so that users know which apps to install and which apps are not authorized. Now, let's see how he can do that. So I'm going to show you a brand new feature that we are going to be, that is currently in testing in Trusted Tester to limited customers. And there you go. So you have G Suite API permissions. This is a new section that we have created, which shows you what scopes are currently allowed, what data permissions are currently allowed inside your domain. Now, notice that you can also go and check on what applications are currently being used inside your company. So there you go. I'm able to filter by application scope what apps are being currently used inside my company. And I can go back to the security permissions page and block any one of them. So I say disable contacts, and it disables contacts. So from here on, users will not be able to use apps that have access to contacts. Now, if there is a use case where I want to explicitly allow a particular application inside my company, that's pretty easy too. I go to my installed applications, I open this button, and I say trust. The moment I trust this application, what it does is it starts honoring or allowing any access done by this particular application. So now admin has created a very safe playground for his users where they are free to go and use applications that are authorized, request for applications that are not there in the trusted list from the admin, and admin can do his due diligence and agree to give permission. So that way, this is a good balance between not stopping the innovation that's coming through the third-party apps, but at the same time, making sure these third-party apps are using data in a secure manner. With that, I'll hand it back to Alan, and I'll just go back to the presentation.
Great. Thanks, Rishi. And so that's a really powerful app, and as Rishi said, I mean, a powerful set of capabilities, that ability to balance allowing innovation, giving the users what they want, but also controlling the way data flows. Now, let's talk about another example here, which is tracking suspicious logins and acting on those. And so, you know, that, if you think about one of your primary risks you're going to see as an admin or as a company, it's compromised accounts. And you know, there are a lot of simple ways that accounts are compromised, things like just very wide password reuse, poor quality passwords. The other thing that's present and has been and continues to be a big problem is phishing. And so, you know, basically fake pages that trick users into putting in their passwords. And it's still an extremely common problem. And it doesn't look like user education is going to solve that. And so it's something that we have to be really aware of, that there's a lot of either targeted, you know, kind of spear phishing attempts where you're going to go after individuals, or just kind of broad-based phishing is relatively common practice and relatively successful. And so obviously, as an admin, you want to be able to detect that kind of behavior and you want to act on it. And you know, we're really excited about the capabilities in this area. And so Rishi is going to run us through a quick demo in that regard and show us all of the things that we're doing there to prevent hijacking, which is obviously a huge, huge problem you're going to see.
Thanks, Al. So I'll quickly show you what tools admins have today to track suspicious logins and then take proactive action, just like how we have seen in the case of file sharing and third-party apps. So I go back to my reporting section where we have an audit stream called Login Audit. Now here you will see that admins are able to track in real time what users are logging in, from which IP they are logging in, and I can also filter based on a specific IP. So I can copy paste an IP and put it in my IP list, and there you go. So I'm basically able to understand what IPs this particular user is doing. So now I'm a little concerned about, okay, this IP is unfamiliar. What can I do to prevent such things? So I can go back to this particular user's account and see if he has used two-step verification, because that's a very powerful way to prevent any phishing attempts. So I see he's not using, and then I can basically go back to my report, which shows how many users are using two-step verification. So I go back to my security report, and I check two-step verification enrollment, and I say, show me all the users who are not using two-step verification. There you go. So now it's showing me the trending of all the users who are not using, and in my domain, I only have 8 users who are enrolled. So this is a big problem. I only have very few users who are enrolled in two-step verification, and I want to enforce it as a policy to protect my domain. So I go back to the security section, which has the list of policies. I go to the basic settings, and I say, okay, I want to go and enforce. So there you go. So now I have the screen where I can decide to enforce two-step verification by OU. So for example, if I want to enforce it on my vendors, I can turn this on, and I can turn it on from a future date because I want to give some time to my users to enroll in two-step verification. And this is the new section that we have recently added, allow two-step verification methods, where admins can choose not only to enforce two-step verification, but they can take and bump up the security further by enforcing only security keys, which is the new way to actually authenticate for a second factor, which is a very powerful way because it uses the hardware. So I can say only security keys and save it. So that's how an admin can protect against phishing attempts by enforcing two-step verification. And with this, I will go back to the presentation, to Alan.
Great.
Back to you, Alan.
Thank you, Rishi. And, that showed an example of security keys, which is a really unusual feature in the security world because, if we're honest, most times security, enhanced security, is a kind of a trade-off with usability, right? Putting extra elements of security in place kind of degrades the user experience or makes it more of a hassle for users. And security keys are a really unusual area because it doesn't do that. It's extremely easy to use, and it's much easier to use than other two-factor authentication mechanisms. And it's also more secure because it's unphishable. You can still do sophisticated phishing accounts on other second-factor login mechanisms. But you can't do that on security key because of the hardware connection to the computer, which is amazing. And it's also, just as I said, it's really easy to use. We use them all the time at Google. I think everyone at Google uses them. And there's a study up on the Yubico website, who's a manufacturer of these things, and it showed that Googlers actually spent 4 times less than using standard second-factor mechanisms by using these security keys. These little, let me just pull this out of Rishi's computer, this little guy right here. And you just stick it in your USB port, and anytime you want a two-factor auth, you just press it. And it's super, super useful. So let's talk about admins. And if you want, who's watching the watchers? How does this work? And this is particularly a challenge for larger organizations that a lot of times are going to have delegated admins. You can have a number of delegated admins. And it's possible that the delegated admins, while delegation is a really powerful tool, it allows you to spread the load. It's also possible that delegated admins perhaps don't have the same level of training or the same understanding of the impact of their actions. And for that, we've got to keep a close eye on what the admins are up to as well. So we're just going to show you a quick example of that.
Sure. Thanks, Alan. So as Alan just mentioned, it's very important for super admins, especially in large organizations where there is a hierarchical structure, there are a lot of delegated admins, a lot of super admins, to keep a tab on what the new super admins are doing. So I'll quickly show you on how that could work. So we have a delegated admin, Shivani, who's logging into her admin console, and she's been given a services admin role, which basically means she's in charge of managing settings for each of the applications. So I go to my service settings, I go to my drive, and she's been tasked with reviewing, sharing settings, and taking appropriate actions there. And as I go there, I have decided to uncheck this, and by mistake, I also uncheck another setting which says, warn the user when you're sharing outside of the domain. So I uncheck it by mistake, and I save it. So this has basically changed it for the entire company. And as a super admin who has all the privileges, I can go back to reporting and check on admin audit, which basically gives you a full list of all the actions that admins are doing. So there I see that Shivani, who's the admin, has gone and changed the sharing outside the domain setting and removed the warning while the sharing is happening. And at the same time, I've also got an alert saying that this setting has been changed by Shivani. I'm not happy about it because I'm the super admin, and this has weakened the security of my company because she has gone ahead and removed the warning from users when they're sharing outside the domain. So I can simply go back, look for her username in the admin console, and I see one role has been assigned to her, and I say manage roles, and I uncheck the services admin role, and I say update, because I feel she needs some more training. So let's remove her roles for the time being, and she can go back, get trained, and then we can trust her with admin assignment after this is done. So this is how super admins have a very powerful control through admin audit, because admin audit keeps a close watch on admin activities that are happening, not just on admin console, but even using API. So it's a very powerful mechanism to keep a control. So with that, I'll just hand it back to Alan.
Great. Thanks, Rishi. And so that's given you a high-level look at some key capabilities in the admin console around reporting. Now, there's an awful lot more there, but we picked a few examples that really highlight some of the key things that you want to focus in on. However, we talked earlier that that isn't the extent of our reporting and analysis strategy. We also want to ensure that we've got good integrations, right, via an API. And the one that we're really excited about is BigQuery. And we're really excited about that because of the power and the flexibility of BigQuery. You know, our large customers have custom and advanced requirements that we couldn't hope to possibly meet in a single console. They've got specific compliance needs, they've got risk, legal assessments that they need to do. They also want to mix data from multiple sources. And very importantly, they want to be able to spread the insights out to targeted individuals in their company, not just to delegated admins, right? They want to syndicate out this information, and they want to really, really control it. And that's where BigQuery comes in. We've got this connection between our admin reports and our admin data, and it's able to flow into BigQuery. And what Rishi's going to do is he's going to walk you through a few different scenarios that are showing just the amazing slice and dice that you've got in BigQuery, and also the really, really powerful and, to be honest, very beautiful visualization that is present in Data Studio that's connected in there as well. So Rishi, why don't you, I'll hand over to you and you can run us through that.
Thanks,
Thank you.
So just want to highlight, like with BigQuery integration, what we are offering is admins can now directly export data from their admin console to BigQuery. And this is really important because it cuts down the entire effort to build an application, to call our APIs, and then from API, put the data into BigQuery. So this is a direct route that admins have. And just to tell you a little bit about the feature itself, it's secure because when you go to admin console and when it looks at the signed in admin's credentials and only shows those BigQuery projects where this admin has editable rights on, so that he cannot take this data to any other BigQuery project. It is pretty scalable, and it's one-check enablement, so the configuration is pretty lightweight. And after this push is done, admins can use BigQuery to write scalable custom queries, or they can create their own reports using Data Studio. So I will quickly show you what this report looks like. And so let's see one such report. So there you go. So there's this report which admin can create for collaboration. So this shows how different users inside the company are collaborating across different applications. Very beautiful, very custom, and it's very easy to build. Similar to this, I can do another report, which shows you a comparison between different OUs. So this is a classic CIO stuff where you want to compare different teams, how different teams are using different Google products, and I can customize this by choosing specific OUs. So NA is North America, I choose North America, and I want to compare that with EMEA. So there you go. So as a CIO, I'm able to compare how different teams inside my company are able to compare usage across different Google products. There is also another important report that I can create around security. So this report shows me how files are being shared, broken down by visibility. So whether it's external outside the domain, internal, and I can break it down. And I can run some more filters on top of this. For example, if I just want to see public in the domain, I can click on this, and it shows me public in the domain, and then I can apply further filters to get more granularity. Now, if I want to edit this report and say add a new page, I can simply choose one of the available widgets. I can break it down. There you go. So I was able to create exact same report right in front of you. I can also select a filter. and choose the visibility type. There you go. So I just created a report in few seconds showing me how files are getting shared outside my company. And that's the power of BigQuery. Once you have the data there, you can connect it to Data Studio, run visualizations, and customize it in matter of seconds. And that's what makes this feature very, very exciting and very powerful. With this, I'll hand it back to Al.
Great. Thank you, Rishi. Now, I'd like to thank you guys for coming today. If say I was an admin walking into the session, there'd probably be two thoughts on my mind when I was coming in. First question is, how can I secure my company's data? You know, what policies do I need to set up and how can I detect that? That's one piece. I hope we've addressed that. The second question that I might ask is, what inspired this lovely carpet choice? And we can't help there. I have no idea.